I'm in a circus tent to talk about speedlights and light modifiers. What? It's all happening on today's episode of
Ask David Bergman.
Hey there everybody, welcome back. Here I am, as always, answering your photography questions. Don't forget to go to askdavidbergman.com. Submit your questions right there on that site. I just might pick it to answer here on a future show. Also, don't forget I'm running my live concert photography workshops. I'll be around the United States all throughout the fall. I've got 30 different workshops going on. I hope you'll check that out at shootfromthepit.com. You spend the day with me at a real live concert, and I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about photographing concerts and really sports action of any kind. And then that night you get to shoot the show with me. It's a super fun experience. Go to shootfromthepit.com. A bunch of cities are already sold out, so don't wait and check that out. All right, you may be wondering where the heck I am. I'm here in Frankenmuth, Michigan with my friends from Circus Kirkus. They've been nice enough to let me use their tent. They're going to be here until September 19th, and then they've got another run coming up in November in Biloxi, Mississippi, so I hope you'll check them out. It's really a fun show. But they've been nice enough to let me use this tent to do this demo today. If only there was somebody that I could photograph to make some really interesting pictures, it'd be really helpful. Oh, hey, look who it is, ladies and gentlemen. It's famous aerialist Julie Marshall. Thanks, Julie, for being here. I appreciate it. She is an amazing athlete. She's going to do some fun stuff for us today so I can demonstrate this tip. But basically, I got a question that was sent in from somebody named Zeph, and Zeph wants to know, what's the largest light modifier I can use with a speedlight? Zeph, thanks so much for asking that question. Basically, what Zeph is asking about, when you use a small speedlight on your camera, it's a very small light source. That light is very small, and that creates very hard, harsh light. So, of course, what you want to do is you want to modify that light. Now, the first thing you want to do is get it off the camera so that you can put it at a more pleasing angle. You don't always want to shoot directly on camera. So you take it off camera, and then you put it in a modifier like a softbox or an umbrella. And what that does, that it spreads the light out and makes it much softer, because as the light gets bigger relative to your subject, it's going to spread around, it's going to be hitting from different angles, and then it's a much softer light. It wraps around your subject rather than just being that little harsh light. So the challenge is, if you're using a small speedlight and you start putting them in bigger and bigger modifiers, how big can you go? Well, let's find out, shall we? So I've got a few different modifiers. I'm going to try this in today. The first one is right here. This is the Westcott Rapid Box. It's a nice little, probably 20 inches, I think. There you go. We're like, demonstrating the products here. And I got to bring you with me on every shoot. This is great to just be able to. And so this is a small, relatively small light modifier. I don't think the speedlight's going to have any trouble filling that up, but let's find out. So what I'm going to do is, first I'm going to make a picture of the light itself. I'm going to close down my aperture so we can really see what the light is doing, what it's hitting there. So let's put it sort of in position. Before we photograph Julie, I'm going to change. So I'm using the EOS R5 here, the full frame mirrorless from Canon. I have the 24-70 2.8 and the wireless transmitter, the STE3RT, on the camera here so that I can remotely trigger that flash. So I'm also at, what am I at? 200 ISO, I believe. 200 ISO at f, well, I'm going to change my aperture, but I'm at 200th of a second, which is the flash sync speed for this camera. First, I'm going to go to f22. I've got that light on group A, so let me turn on group A. So that's group A, because I can control each one individually. I'm going to go to 8th power. That's just kind of a guess where I'm going to start. I'm going to f22 so that I close down so I can really see what that light's doing. I'm not going to shoot the picture at f22, but this one I'm going to shoot just to see what it looks like when that light fires in there. And you can see it's doing a pretty good job. You can obviously see that oval shape of the speedlight in the middle of that light, and it falls off as we get to the outside. But it's a relatively small area. As we brighten that up, it's going to fill that light pretty nicely and going to be fine, I think. So let's try it. What I'm going to do is move out of the way. I'm going to let Julie get in position and do something fun for me, Julie. Let's see what we can do here to make an interesting photograph. She has no problem hanging upside down, and the core strength on this woman is pretty amazing. So let's do something interesting. I was going to do this myself, but she insisted that she do it instead. So maybe the next time. There we go. All right. Perfect. So, and then, because she spins around a little bit, we're going to bring Kirk up. Kirk, come on up. My wonderful assistant. Kirk is the co-owner here of Circus Kirkus, hence the name. So he's just going to get her in position because she's otherwise going to spin around. So when I'm ready, you can let go and move out of the frame. So I'm going to aim this light pretty much right at her face, and let's see what it's doing. All right. I'm going to change my aperture down to 5.6, it's just kind of a guess. And all right, Kirk, you're good. And I'm using the eye tracking, and boom. Perfect. All right, you can come on down, Julie. Thank you, Kirk. You'll be needed again in a minute. And you can see what that light's doing. So it's falling off very quickly, right? There you go. So you've got her center, you know, her face is lit, that one arm is lit very well, but then it falls off very quickly. Her leg that's further out from the light really isn't getting much light at all relative to her face. But we want to light her more evenly. So let's go to bigger modifiers. So let's move this one out of the way, get this off stage here. And I'm going to bring in this standard photo umbrella. I believe this is probably a 30-inch umbrella. It's a Westcott, I think it's the trifold. And so it's a pretty big modifier. For a speedlight, it's going to be a little tight. Now I'm going to go shoot through. I'm going to shoot this direction just for the heck of it, really not any particular reason why. I can get it in a little bit closer if I do the shoot through. If you go the other way, the post is going to stick out. So let me back this up just a tad. So we've got some spread there. Yeah, you don't want it right there probably. Nope. So let's pull it back here, aim it there. And I'm going to do another picture of the light and see what that's doing. Now, something to be you have to consider as you go into bigger modifiers, the photons are spreading out more. And so you're not going to get as much light out of this thing. So I'm going to have to either turn the flash power up, or I'm going to have to open up my aperture. In this case, I'm going to turn my flash power up. So I'm going to go to quarter power instead of eighth power. So let's go to turn off group A. This one's on group B. And I'm going to go to quarter power. And that's probably going to be accurate, still at 5.6 aperture. Okay? So now I'm going to go to f22 just for one frame so we can see what this light is doing. Exactly. Boom. And there you go. It's actually doing a pretty decent job of filling up that umbrella. Somewhat surprisingly, just the way the umbrella is shaped and the way that the light, because it's further back from the umbrella, it spreads out a little more. Something else I can actually do is use this thing. This is one of these little plastic diffuser cups that I've done videos about these things. They're not useful outdoors at all, but in this situation, if I take this and put it on the inside the umbrella here, it's just going to help that light spread out a little bit more. So if I cover this thing just a tad, I actually had the diffusion panel up there, so that's probably also what helped it. But that's going to spread that light out just a little more. So let's bring it back in here. How you doing, Julie? All right? Hanging in there? Hi, you see what I did there? So there you go. It's a dad joke, I'm sorry. So now that light, let me do one more frame at f22. We can see if there's really any difference with that diffusion. And yeah, it looks pretty much the same. I had the diffusion panel over the flash on the first frame, so I think it's basically the same. But I think that's going to give us some more spread. So let's go ahead and make a picture. Kirk, come on up with the assists. I'm going to go back to 5.6. And as soon as Julie's in position, I'm going to move this out of the frame a little bit. I think I'm a little tight in here, just so I don't get the light in the frame. And just another day at the office here at Ask David Bergman. All right, same thing, 205.6, perfect, Kirk, thank you very much. Awesome, perfect. So compared to that first shot, what's happening here? Well, first of all, some more of the light is hitting her. It's spreading across her body a little more, as we'd expect with a larger light modifier. And also, the background's getting lit more. We're having the light is spreading in this umbrella. It's kind of spreading all over the place, and it's actually lighting a little bit of that background, which it really wasn't with that tight modifier. But bottom line is we could still fill that umbrella with the speedlight, which is what this question is about. So what if we want to go really big? How do we do that? Well, I did bring one more modifier with me. Let's get rid of this. And the modifier I brought is rather large. And, oh, the train's going by. So this thing is the Glow wing-like parabolic umbrella, they call it. And why do they call it the wing-like? Well, you'll see in a second. But this is 88 inches. That's big. We did 20, we did 30. This is 88. And you can see when we open this thing, ladies and gentlemen, that is a very large light modifier. Honestly, the biggest one I own. So, and it's very simple to use. It's just like a regular umbrella. So it's got the typical umbrella shaft. You just stick it through the, with an umbrella adapter on a light stand, and it works really well. Can we use a speed light in here? Well, let's find out. Who knows? All right. So I'm going to put this on here. You know what? Let's go this way. That's why. Right here. There we go. And again, I'm going to keep it backed out of the shaft. You know, I'm going to keep the shaft further out so that the light is going to hit and spread as much as it can. I'm bumping into everything here. And I'm going to go horizontal. You could obviously go vertical or horizontal with this thing. So I'm going to go horizontal because that's the frame we're doing. I've got it backed up. I also have a weight down at the bottom. I've got a battery holding this stand down so nothing falls over, because otherwise this would absolutely fall over. So be careful of that. Use sandbags or something like that if you're using a big modifier like this. So let's see what it does. Camera. Right here, I'm going to go, hold on one second. I'm going to go to f22 again. This is not quite aimed right. So let's see, right about there. Is that sort of aimed, is this light aimed sort of centered at you? That way? More? Oh, other way. There we go, right about there. Perfect. All right, so now I'm going to do that f22 shot again, and we can see the fall off. f22, zooming out. And there you can see the fall off. There's definitely some fall off there. It's just hitting that center of that thing. It's doing a pretty good job. This modifier is shaped in a way that it's going to fill up pretty nicely, right? But what happens? We're losing a lot of light in there. So I'm going to still shoot at 5.6, but remember, I'm at full power now. The thing about shooting full power speedlights, your batteries are going to die a lot faster, and your recycle time is much slower. It takes longer in between shots to get pictures. So that's it. I'd much rather shoot at half power, eighth power, and you can keep shooting away, especially when you have somebody amazing like Julie hanging there. You don't want to keep her up there any longer than you have to. So let's make a couple pictures. Kirk, come on back up. And I'm going to go, I'm at 5.6, I'm at full power, and let's see what happens here. Let's see how much spread we can get from this shot once Julie is in position. She is a pro, ladies and gentlemen. No complaints about being in this very awkward high position. All right. And, all right, here we go. Perfect. All right, thanks, Kirk. Let's do a couple of frames like this. You know what, Julie, I hate to ask you this. Can you get up a little higher than that? You're a little too close to the ground. Let's see if we can get you up. But, okay. Just power those off if you don't mind. So we'll just get a little more height so we can make this picture pretty awesome. And see if we can get much more spread across that entire giant 88-inch glow wing-like parabolic umbrella. There we go, perfect. Whoop, don't get kicked in the face, Kirk. There we go. And she's going to spin around. Perfect. All right, perfect. Awesome, thanks, Kirk. All right, excellent. All right, I'm going to do a few frames just like this. Great, let's see how the, see now my recycle is very slow, but if I wait long enough, boom, I'm going to do another couple of frames here. Amazing. One more. Oh, we're losing her. Boom. All right, you can come down, Julie. So, that was amazing. Thank you. So you can see, looking at that photograph, what's the difference from the earlier ones. The light has spread. It is covering pretty much her whole body. There's not much fall off. We were able to get in this giant modifier with one speedlight, we were able to fill it up. Now, partially that's because of the shape of this modifier. It actually is very efficient, this particular modifier. If I was using a traditional umbrella, I'm not sure that it would spread quite as evenly, but this thing actually did a really good job. So I could also add that diffusion on there, the plastic diffusion cup. That would help spread it out a little bit. But I got to say, I'm somewhat surprised. It did a pretty good job filling that up. So the answer, Zeph, is you can use any size modifier with a speedlight, right? We just proved it. But there are trade-offs. I had to bump up my power. I was at full power. You could either open up your aperture, you could bump up your ISO, bump up your power, all of those things. You're going to lose some power when you do that. So there is a trade-off. There's always a trade-off. Everything with photography, it's a give and take. So you give it somewhere, you have to take it somewhere else. So bottom line is you can do it if you're okay with what those trade-offs are. So that's the answer. Thanks, Zeph, for sending that in. Julie knows what to do. If she has photo questions, she's going to go to AskDavidBergman.com and send those in, and I might answer it on a future show. Don't forget, shootfromthepit.com is my awesome photo workshops. And then I'm back here every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern with a brand new question. Maybe next week we'll be back here in the tent. What do you think? There you go. Thanks, Julie. I appreciate it. Her social media is all going to be in the description down below, so check that out. I'll be back here next Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern with a brand new question. Thanks very much. Come back next time on Ask David Bergman.